The wind screamed across the wastes like a dying animal. Declan pulled his scarf tighter, squinting through the white chaos that swallowed the world beyond 3 meters. His supply sled groaned behind him, pulled by magnetic repulsion over the ice. Loaded with machine parts and preserved food destined for the mining colony at Frost's End, this run paid well. But every trip reminded him why hazard bonuses existed. He'd been walking for 4 hours when his thermal scanner blinked. A heat signature, faint and fading, off the main route. Declan stopped, checking his oxygen levels. 70%. Enough for a detour, barely. He shouldn't investigate. The wastes killed the curious. But the signature was small, child-sized, and weakening by the minute. Cursing under his breath, he changed course. The coordinates led him to a shallow depression where the wind had carved strange shapes into ice formations. There, propped against a frozen pillar like discarded cargo, sat a small figure. Declan's heart clenched. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. Her skin was pale lavender, almost translucent, with darker purple patterns that reminded him of frost on glass. Her hair was white, crystalline, and her clothes were thin ceremonial wraps, completely inadequate for the killing cold. "Hey." Declan dropped to his knees beside her. "Can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered, but didn't open. Her lips had gone from purple to blue. Hypothermia, advanced stage. He had minutes, maybe less. Declan didn't think. He stripped off his thermal coat and wrapped it around her tiny frame, then activated the emergency heat pack from his belt, pressing it against her chest. She made a small sound, barely a whimper. He scooped her up, shocked by how light she felt, and started running back toward his sled. The storm fought him every step. His arms burned. His lungs screamed in the thin, freezing air. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. When he finally reached the sled, he cleared space among the cargo and made a nest of thermal blankets. Placing her inside and cranking the portable heater to maximum got, her chest rose and fell. Shallow but steady. Alive. Declan changed course again. This time toward his trading post instead of the colony. The journey took another 3 hours. By the time he hauled the sled into his small compound part warehouse, part living quarters, his entire body shook with exhaustion. Inside, he transferred her to his own bed, the only truly warm place in the building. He piled on blankets, started a fire in the old-fashioned hearth he'd installed for emergencies like power failures, and prepared warm broth with a rehydration pack. Medical supplies came next. Her vital signs were weak, but improving. Frostbite had darkened her fingertips and toes, but the damage looked superficial. She'd been lucky. Another hour, and she would have been a small, frozen statue on the ice. Who leaves a child out there? He muttered, checking her pupils with a light. They responded, both eyes a startling silver color. He stayed awake through the night, monitoring her condition. Around dawn, or what passed for it on this frozen rock, her eyes opened. She stared at him with such intensity that Declan felt pinned in place. Recognition flickered across her face, then confusion, and something else. Fear? No, not quite. Wariness. "Hey there," he said softly, keeping his distance. "You're safe. I'm Declan. I found you in the storm." Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. She tried again, and this time a voice came out, hoarse and quiet. "Why? Why, what? Why did you take me from the ice?" The question caught him off guard. "Because you are dying." That was the purpose. Declan felt cold despite the fire crackling nearby. "What do you mean?" She sat up slowly, clutching the blankets around herself. Her silver eyes never left his face. "I am Nissa of the Frostheim clans. I was born during the dark season with the mark of starlight in my eyes. My people believe this means my spirit is divided, neither fully of ice nor of warmth. I bring imbalance. So they perform the offering. The offering, Declan repeated, his jaw tight. They take children like me to the sacred ice pillars during the worst storms. If we are strong enough, the gods will guide us home. If not, we return to the ice and bring no shame to our families. She said it matter-of-factly, as if describing the weather. You should not have interfered. That's murder dressed up in ritual, Declan said, anger heating his words. You're a child. I am marked. You're alive. That's what matters. Nyssa tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. You are human. I have seen your kind at the trading stations. You do not believe in the old ways. I believe in not letting kids freeze to death. For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then Nissa's stomach growled loudly. Despite everything, despite the horror of what she'd told him, Declan found himself smiling. Hungry? She nodded, a small, almost shy gesture. He ladled broth into a bowl and handed it to her. She accepted it with both hands, bringing it close to her face and breathing in the steam before taking a careful sip. Her eyes widened. It's warm. That's generally how soup works. No, I mean ... She struggled for words. I have never felt warmth like this. From the inside, Declan's anger transformed into something else, something that ached in his chest. Your people don't cook their food? We eat frozen. It is our way. Heat is for the weak, for those who cannot endure. But she took another sip, then another, and when she finished the bowl, she looked at him with those impossible silver eyes and whispered, Thank you. Over the following days, Nyssa remained in Declan's trading post. He fashioned warmer clothes for her from spare thermal fabric, made sure she ate regularly, and kept the fires burning. She was quiet most of the time, watching him work with intense curiosity. Sometimes she would ask questions about human customs, about warmth, about why he lived alone on this frozen world. Someone has to run supplies to the colonies, he'd explain. And I like the solitude. Were you offered to the ice too? She asked one evening. The question startled a laugh from him. No, but I ran away from my own people for different reasons. Sometimes you have to leave home to find out who you really are. Nyssa considered this, hugging her knees to her chest as she sat by the fire. If I go back, they will leave me again. Or worse, then don't go back. Where would I go? Declan met her eyes. You could stay here, if you wanted. She didn't answer right away. The fire crackled between them, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Finally, she said, You would let me stay? Even though I am marked? Especially because you're marked. Means you're a survivor. For the first time since he'd found her, Nyssa smiled. It was small, tentative, but real. And in that moment, Declan realized he'd made a decision that would change everything. He wasn't just sheltering a refugee from a cruel tradition. He was choosing to protect her, to give her the childhood and warmth she'd been denied. Outside, the storm continued its endless howl. But inside the trading post, wrapped in blankets by the fire, Nyssa fell asleep feeling safe for the first time in her short life. And Declan sat watch, knowing that whatever came next, he wouldn't let anyone take her back to the ice. The warmth they'd found together was just beginning. The weeks that followed transformed Declan's solitary existence into something he'd never anticipated. Nyssa moved through his trading post like a curious ghost, touching everything, asking endless questions, learning the rhythms of a life built on warmth rather than endurance. She marveled at hot water, at cooked food, at the simple pleasure of thick socks. Every small comfort he took for granted became a revelation for her. Why do humans need so many layers? She asked one morning, watching him sort through winter gear for a supply run. Because we're not built for the cold like your people, Declan explained, handing her a thermal shirt. We have to create our warmth artificially. She held the shirt, feeling its soft texture. Is that weakness? It's adaptation. There's a difference. Nissa was adapting too, but not just to the warmth. Her personality emerged slowly, like ice melting to reveal what lay beneath. She was clever, with a dry sense of humor that caught him off guard. She loved stories, especially ones about places with seasons, where cold was temporary and warmth returned like a promise. And she had begun to smile more often, transforming her solemn face into something bright and alive. But her nights were haunted. Declan would wake to the sound of her crying softly, remembering the ice pillars, the storm, the feeling of being left behind. On those nights, he would sit beside her bed and tell her stories until she fell back asleep. His presence a shield against the dark memories. It was during one of these quiet nights that everything changed. The proximity alarm shattered the silence at 3 a.m. Declan bolted upright, immediately checking the security feeds. A single figure approached through the darkness, moving with the confident stride of someone who knew the terrain. He was tall, built like a warrior, with the same lavender skin and crystalline hair as Nissa. But where her eyes were silver, his were deep purple, almost black. Declan grabbed his plasma rifle and moved to the entrance. Nissa appeared in the doorway of her room, clutching a blanket, her face pale. "Someone's coming," he said quietly. She stepped closer to the screen, and her entire body went rigid. "Cale," she whispered. "My brother." The knock came heavy and deliberate. Declan checked that his weapon was charged before opening the door just wide enough to see out. The man standing there was perhaps 25 in human years, his face all sharp angles and controlled emotion. He wore traditional Frostheim armor, layered ice-threaded fabric that gleamed in the compound's exterior lights. "I am Cale of the Frostheim clans," he said, his voice deep and measured. "I seek my sister, Nissa. I know she is here." "Why would you think that?" Declan kept his weapon visible, but not raised. "Because I tracked her thermal signature to this location 17 days ago. Because I have been watching, waiting to see if you would harm her or sell her to slavers." Cale's expression hardened. "And because I can feel her presence. We share blood." Behind Declan, Nissa made a small sound. He glanced back to see her step forward, shoulders squared despite her trembling hands. "Brother," she said simply. Cale's controlled composure cracked. Relief and anguish warred across his features. "Nissa, you live. Did you want me to die?" The question hung in the frozen air between them. Cale's jaw clenched, and for a moment, Declan thought the man might turn and leave without answering. But then he spoke, his voice rough with emotion. "Every single day since they took you to the pillars, I have wanted you alive. I followed the procession. I watched from a distance as they left you there. And when the storm came, He stopped, breathing hard. "I defied our father and searched for you. But you were gone. The winds had erased your tracks. I thought you had been taken by the ice spirits, as tradition says." "A human found me," Nissa said quietly. "Declan brought me warmth when I was turning blue. He gave me shelter when I had none." Cale's gaze shifted to Declan with new intensity. "You saved her life. Anyone would have done the same." "No," Cale said firmly. "No one would have. My people believe the offering is sacred. Other traders who pass the pillars know not to interfere. You alone chose differently." He bowed his head slightly. "You have my gratitude, human. And my debt." Declan lowered his weapon. "I don't want your debt. But if you're here to take her back, I am not." Cale's words came swift and certain. "I came to see if she lived, to know if the gods had shown mercy. But I see now that mercy came from a different source." He looked at Nissa again, and his expression softened. You have found warmth, little star. Something I could never give you in our frozen halls. Nissa's eyes filled with tears. You called me that when I was small. Before the elders said my eyes were cursed. Your eyes were never cursed. They are beautiful like starlight on ice. Cale stepped forward slowly, giving Declan time to react, but the human moved aside. Brother and sister met in the doorway, and Cale wrapped her in his arms. I am sorry, he whispered. I am sorry I could not protect you. I am sorry our people chose tradition over love. They stood together for a long moment, and Declan felt like an intruder on something private and profound. He moved back to give them space, but Nissa reached out and grabbed his hand, pulling him closer. Declan is my family now too, she said firmly. He is the one who taught me that warmth is not weakness, that kindness is not shame. Cale studied Declan with those unsettling dark purple eyes. Then I am grateful my sister has found such a protector. He paused, then added, but you should know, both of you, that danger follows the marked ones. There are those among our people who believe Nissa's survival is an affront to the gods. And there are others, outsiders, who hunt for children with gifts. Gifts? Declan frowned. Cale looked at Nissa. You have not felt it yet? The awakening? She shook her head, confused. The mark of starlight does not just signify divided spirit, Cale explained. It means you carry empathic ability. You will feel what others feel, and in time, you may even influence those emotions. It is why our people fear the marked ones. The last child born with silver eyes grew powerful enough to drive entire villages mad with grief or joy. Declan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. She's just a child. She is a child now. But she will grow, and her power will grow with her. There are research facilities, illegal operations, that would pay fortunes for someone like her. To study, to weaponize. Cale's expression grew grave. This is why I came. Not just to see her alive, but to warn you. Keep her hidden. Keep her safe. And when her abilities begin to manifest, teach her control. How would I teach her something I don't understand? You already are. Cale gestured to the warm room, the comfortable furniture, the signs of care everywhere. You are teaching her that feelings matter. That love is strength, not weakness. These lessons will anchor her when the emotions of others threaten to overwhelm her own. Nissa looked frightened now, pressing closer to Declan. I do not want to hurt anyone. You won't, Declan said firmly, though he had no idea if that was true. He put a protective arm around her shoulders. We'll figure this out together. Cale watched the gesture, and something flickered in his eyes' approval, mixed with sadness. I must return before my absence is noted, but I will come again when I can. And if you need anything, send a message to the Frostheim Trade Outpost with the code word Starlight. I have all eyes there who can help. Why are you doing this? Declan asked. Helping us when it goes against your people? Because she is my sister, and I love her more than I fear tradition. Cale touched Nissa's cheek gently. And because the human who gave her warmth deserves the truth, so he can protect her from what is coming. Before he left, Cale pulled something from his armor, a small pendant made of crystalline ice that never melted, carved in the shape of a star. Our mother made this before she died. She would have wanted you to have it, little star, to remember that you were loved, even when the cold tried to claim you. Nissa took the pendant with shaking hands, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, brother. Stay warm, Nissa. Stay alive. And maybe, one day, you will teach our people that the old ways are not always the right ways. He bowed once to Declan. Protect her, human. She is more precious than you know. Then he was gone, disappearing into the darkness beyond the compound lights. Declan closed and locked the door, then turned to find Nissa crying silently, clutching the pendant. He knelt beside her, and she threw her arms around his neck, holding on like she might fly apart if she let go. "I thought everyone from my old life hated me," she sobbed. "Your brother loves you. That's clear as ice. But he cannot stay. Cannot take me home." "No," Declan agreed, rubbing her back. "But you have a home here, for as long as you want it." She pulled back to look at him, her silver eyes shining with tears and something else, gratitude, trust, and the beginning of a bond that went deeper than either of them understood yet. "Declan," she said quietly, "when I feel afraid or sad or alone, and then you are near, the feelings change, become softer, warmer. Is that normal?" He thought of Cale's warning about empathic abilities, and his heart sank even as it swelled. "I think," he said carefully, "that might be your gift starting to wake up. You're feeling my emotions mixing with yours." "Your emotions are kind," she whispered, "even when you are worried, even when you are tired. Always there is kindness underneath." Declan felt something crack open inside his chest. He had lived alone for so long, keeping people at arm's length, building walls of solitude. But this small girl with starlight eyes had walked right through those walls without even trying. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you back to bed. Tomorrow's a new day, and we've got a lot to figure out." As he tucked her in, Nissa held the crystal pendant close. "Declan, will you tell me a story? About a place where it is warm all the time? How about a place where seasons change? Where cold comes and goes, and warmth always returns?" "Yes," she breathed. "Tell me about that." So he did, weaving tales of spring flowers and summer rain, autumn leaves and winter snow that melted into mud. And as he spoke, he felt it a subtle warmth in his chest, a feeling of peace and contentment that wasn't entirely his own. Nissa was sharing what she felt, her happiness bleeding into him through her awakening gift. It should have frightened him. Instead, it felt like coming home. Outside, in the endless frozen dark, Cale looked back at the compound one last time. He had not told them everything, had not mentioned the elders, who were already whispering about hunting down the survived offering, had not revealed that their father had issued a blood decree, demanding Nissa's return or her permanent silence. But he had bought them time, and perhaps, if the gods were merciful, time would be enough for the human and his sister to build something strong enough to weather the coming storm. Cale touched his chest, where his own heart beat cold and steady, and whispered into the wind, "Stay warm, little star, and may your human be as fierce as he is kind." Then he vanished into the wasteland, carrying secrets and hope in equal measure.